Welcome back. You're watching Biocon, Biocell. Well, we've got the management of Biocon joining us on the phone line. Kiran Mazumdar, Chairman and Managing Director of Biocon, joins us. Thanks very much, Ms. Shaw, for joining us this afternoon on NDTV Profit. Shaw, just to get started, good set of numbers on the face of it. Sales have done quite well, up 10% year on year. Just noticed that the PAT number is actually down nearly 9% YOY. Give us details of what's happened.
Well, like you very rightly said, we have delivered a good set of numbers. PAT numbers need to be viewed in a certain way, because I think the market estimates have basically probably factored in much higher licensing income. These numbers, of course, post Axicorp are at 70 crores. And if you were to compare the kind of licensing income recognition that we've done this quarter of 14 crores compared to 21 crores that we did last year, I think that sort of gives a clearer picture of how licensing income needs to be viewed on an annualized basis rather than on a quarterly basis. So our base businesses, of manufacturing and research services have done exceedingly well. I think licensing income has been muted, but deliberately so, because these are linked to development and regulatory timelines. And all I can say is that the current levels of licensing income recognitions will certainly ramp up as we go forward. Last year, for instance, the numbers vacillated between 21 crores to 77 crores. I think there was an expectation of it being sustained at slightly higher levels, and therefore I think I need to clarify that these are numbers that will be variable, and we hope that analysts and the markets will learn to view this not on a quarterly basis.
Yes, ma'am. Also, can you tell us about your margins? Margins have more or less been flat. Can we expect this trend to continue going ahead as well?
Well, one of the important aspects I should highlight is that if you remember, when Axicorp was part of the numbers, we had very low margins. We had 21% margin levels, which of course the markets were concerned about, because Axicorp was really a top-line contributor. But post Axicorp, we've seen these numbers climb up to 29% levels, and I think moving ahead, these are margin levels which are not only sustainable but have the potential to improve, given some of the kind of licensing income recognitions that will happen in the quarters ahead, given that we will see good traction from our high margin businesses, like our branded formulations businesses, some of the API businesses like fidaxomicin and others, which are going to be higher margin contributors to our growth. Research services, of course, is a much higher margin business. So overall, I think we will be able to sustain these levels of margins. I think margins are not going to really be a cause of concern for us going forward.
Ma'am, I just want to go back on the question of the margins front. You mentioned in the press conference that you're targeting 29% kind of margins for FY12. Correct me if I'm wrong. What are the levers based on which you'll be able to do this?
No, what I mentioned is that the current quarter will reflect a margin of 29%, and these are levels that which we can definitely sustain, because what I did mention to you was that if you were to compare these margins to the previous year's margins, which were at like a 21-22% level, this was skewed because of Axicorp. Now that we have divested from Axicorp, obviously we will be able to get back to original margin levels, which are really at that 29-30% levels, which I think we can sustain.
Ma'am, Insupen launch, you mentioned that in the press conference as well, happens the next couple of months. So can we estimate that in Q2 itself, the impact from the Insupen launch could actually reflect in your top line?
No, I don't believe so, because I think the Insupen launch numbers will only start kicking in from the third quarter onwards.
Okay. Time and again, the street has always wanted to know what's been the latest as far as the oral insulin licensing is concerned. You made a brief mention in the press conference. Anything more you want to add on to? Because that's perhaps the incremental trigger for your stock. Which are the parties that you're in talks with? How soon could we see some developments on this front?
Well, I can only share what I discussed at the press conference. We are in discussion with a number of potential partners, and I don't think I can disclose anything further till we come to a point where I can actually share any sort of data or numbers with you. So I think you'll have to be a bit patient on this front.
Ma'am, on the biosimilar monoclonal antibody program that you have with Mylan, can you give us a sense what's the pipeline looking like as far as products are concerned which you plan to launch in FY12 or even in FY13?
Well, all I can say is that we are on track in terms of our development path. We are on track in terms of our regulatory path, and we are really hoping that we meet some of the market entry opportunities for many of these monoclonal antibodies. So we remain committed to making sure that that happens. Both partners are pleased with the progress they are making on this partnership, and we are entering the clinic with these programs very, very soon.
Ma'am, apparently the portfolio is also witnessing expansion. I'm talking about the API supplies, which now includes prostaglandins and peptides also. Can you give a sense of what's the total business opportunity like as far as these new forays are concerned for you?
Well, in the interim, these are not going to be huge opportunities, but we believe that over the next 5 years, these can be another portfolio of products that could offer us fairly large opportunities, because right now it's not an overly crowded market, and we hope that it remains this way. And this could also be a pretty significant contributor to our API business. We do expect that there is a large global opportunity, and we will start sharing information in terms of how large this opportunity could be as and when we start developing dossiers for various markets.
Ma'am, is it safe to assume that fidaxomicin supplies would start in FY12, and if yes, then what kind of a revenue flow would you actually estimate for that?
Well, we can't share with you the revenue flow, but it's important for you to understand that we have already commenced supplies. In fact, fidaxomicin launch in the US happened the day before yesterday, and the launch of fidaxomicin in Europe is likely to happen towards the end of the year. So certainly this is an area where we are making sure that we support Optima with its requirements, and depending on the market success of this product, this can actually be a good upside for us.
Ma'am, a strong balance sheet with almost $200 million in cash. What can we expect? A big bang announcement on acquisition front, or perhaps something special on the cards, for instance, a special dividend? Anything that you want to share with our viewers?
Not right now, because I think we are a very cautious company. I think we do want to make sure we have a strong cash position, because we do need to invest a lot in our innovation strategy. We need to invest a lot in our various capex needs. We need to invest a lot in our scaling up strategies. So I think acquisitions are certainly not foremost on our mind at this stage.
Ma'am, coming back on the capex front, apparently the Malaysian facility also is part of that. When can we see that going online, and what will be the total capex spend that you've planned?
Well, as I think we have shared with you in the past, the kind of phase 1 capex spend is going to be in the order of $160 million. We expect to break ground for phase 1 this quarter, hopefully. So, going forward, this particular year when we will see some spends happening in the Malaysian project.
Ma'am, and finally the IPO for the research services, how soon can we see that happening?
I think I'd explained that, we want to make sure that the current run rate is kept up for at least, 3 or 4 quarters. And once we see that sustainable growth traction, then certainly we will start preparing for an IPO. And hopefully we can do that in the next 18 months.
Ms. Shaw, thank you so much for joining us and patiently answering all our questions. Congratulations. Good luck for all your growth plans.
Thank you.
Well, that's the management of Biocon talking about growth from here on. We'll take a break now. We'll come back with more.